Winifred goes to America. A very long time ago, before you and I were born, when women wore long dresses and men wore frocks and frock coats and top hats, a little steam engine called Winifred started work at the dock side of Port Penrhyn in Wales. She was a Quarry Hunslet engine. Winifred worked there with her friends Lillian and Gwynedd. They fetched the slate that was brought down from the quarries high up in the mountains, and they carried it over to the tall ships waiting at the dock. Winifred would watch the ships leave the dock and long to sail with them. "When can I go on a ship?" she wondered. Lou Batch, her driver, would laugh and say, "My lovely Winifred, those ships are not for you." Every day the tall ships sailed out to sea, loaded up with slates, and each summer children came to see Winifred. They would ride on the footplate, climb over a big sail tank, and be allowed to toot the whistle. After many years, there appeared one day a funny square little engine. He didn't need any steam. He was called a Ruston. "I'm a Diesel," said the Ruston. "I've come to do your job. Time to go. You're too slow." He laughed. "They're sending you to work up on the mountain." And he shuddered away, grinning. Well, by now the tall ships with their billowing sails had long gone, had been replaced by modern cargo ships. Winifred knew she had friends up in the quarry. So soon she said goodbye to Lou Batch and chuffed away up to the mountain to her new home. Lou Batch could now retire to look after his garden with all his happy memories. Winifred went to work with Ogwyn, Signan, Nestor, and other engines in the quarry. High up on the mountain, it was often cold, wet, and windy, but still people came to see the little engines. The men would sing and laugh, and all the engines were very happy. They worked hard each day, ferrying the slate around the quarry, and once finished, it was made ready to be taken down to the port. Until one day they heard a distant shuddering noise. "The Diesels are coming! The Diesels are coming!" cried out Ogwyn. And sure enough, up the track came the Diesels, calling out, "Time to go, you're too slow! Time to go, you're too slow!" The little steam engines all looked at each other. Everyone was very annoyed. Soon a reporter and a camera came to ask them what they thought, and they filmed the engines and the quarrymen. The little engines now sat idly waiting to see what would happen to them. Meanwhile, the Diesels started to do their jobs. A few days later, a very unusual man came huffing and puffing up the mountain. Howdy, folks. Where are these beauties? He cried out in a loud, friendly voice. Gee, he drawled. I was sitting in my hotel room in Scotland and saw you guys on my TV. I want you girls in my show. Top of the bill. The man was called Mr. Arnott, and he wanted to buy 6 engines and take them to his home in America. Winifred was delighted, as she always wanted to cross the seas, sail away, and see the world. Down the mountain went Winifred, Nestor, Ogwyn, Glitter, Marchlin, and Sicken. Now the Diesels looked on enviously as the engines were loaded onto trucks on the main line to Manchester. When they arrived at the docks of the city, giant cranes lifted them on to a big ship. Crowds of people gathered to say goodbye to the last engines to work in the Penryn Quarry. As the ship's horn blew and people waved, the engine set off across the Atlantic Ocean on the SS Manchester Progress. "Oh, this is so exciting," said Winifred, but she could see that Nestor and Glitter were sad to be leaving. The ship headed for Norfolk in Virginia, and the engines all started to enjoy being out at sea. At the beginning, the occasional seabird that had got lost and wandered too far from the coast would land on the ship. But soon the engine saw dolphins, whales, and flying fish. Winifred loved the vast horizon, the sky, the sea, and beautiful sunsets. The journey took many days, and it wasn't long before the first storm arrived, with crashing waves that were taller than the ship. But the little engine stayed safely on board.
I am dreaming of the mountains of my home, of the mountains where in childhood I would roam.
Then, one morning, as the sun rose, Winifred could see land. The ship had finally arrived in America. People on the dockside watched as they were lifted off. "Oh, Mum, look how cute they are!" cried a small boy. All the engines were glad to be back on dry land. Then they were all hoisted onto trucks and made their way through the city. The little steam engines felt very small. Later that day, they arrived in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Each engine had a number attached to his chimney. "This isn't a show, it's an auction," said Ogwyn. "They're going to bid for us." It had been a long while since anyone had polished their brass or cleaned out their firebox. "Who will buy a sooty old engine?" said Winifred. She didn't need to worry. When the bidding started, the crowd went wild, calling out and waving, and very soon, a man in a smart suit was shouting, "They're mine!" He ran over and said to three of the engines, "You're coming with me to Terre Haute, Indiana, to be in my museum." Winifred, Ogwyn, and Glitter had been bought by Tony Holman, who owned a racing circuit and had made the Indianapolis 500 race world famous. Winifred was taken to the museum and placed next to a rather jolly Jaguar and a beautiful Bugatti. Then she watched shyly as the visitors came in. "Go and get 'em, girl," said the cars encouragingly. And Winifred started to tell the people all about steam engines, the quarries, and whales. The people loved it. Winifred was so happy. She smiled and wondered what they would think of it all back home in Wales.